Hola, ¿qué tal amigos? Buenos días, buenas tardes y buenas noches. No importa la hora que sea, siempre es un gran momento para estudiar, hablar, ver, escuchar, escribir y aprender español con su profesor, Profesor Pablo, y Learn Spanish Fast, rápido, rapidísimo, with Profesor Pablo. In past lessons, I have made mention of the Spanish Verb Universe. This is a concept I created many years back to help students have a graphic, spatial relationship of the usage of verb tenses and verb constructions. First thing I want you to notice that our universe has 10 planets, if you will. A lot of people think, and contrary to your belief, there are not a gazillion million verb conjugations and verb tenses to learn. There are only 10 things that you can do to a verb. 10. Take your 2 thumbs and your 8 fingers right there, or take all 10 of your toes. There are only 10 items, 10 things that you need to learn for all verb tenses in the Spanish Verb Universe. You'll notice our numbers go from 0 to 9. We have a verb numbering system, much like the old mariners used the numbers and the stars to navigate the seas. We borrow from the study of mathematics, the numbering system here, to help our brain compartmentalize, right? Help that language learning module speed up its understanding of all these verb tenses, of which there are only 10. First of all, let's look at 0. 0 is the infinitive, okay? The infinitive is in gray, and it's huge. From the infinitive, basically everything comes from the infinitive if you want to be honest about it. When you do the present tense, like hablar, you go to hablar and you chop that infinitive ending off the end, right? When you do the preterite, you go to the infinitive and you chop the infinitive ending off. When you do all the verb tenses, except for the future and the conditional, you go back to the infinitive and you have to chop that infinitive ending off, essentially. Okay, so the infinitive is the name of the verb. When you go to a dictionary and you look up to eat, comer, with an R, to smoke, fumar, to do, hacer, to work, trabajar. Okay, now, the spatial relationship is an approximation of how much run, how much usage these different verb constructions and or verb tenses get in the Spanish language. Obviously, the biggest one is the present indicative, number 3, on the left side of the chart in red. Why do they call it the present indicative? Because it indicates what is happening now in the present tense. By far, we speak and use more present tense than anything. That's why when we talked about that engine, the engine block, the left side and the right side in the top middle, we talked about the left and right sides being the present tense and the past preterite. And we talked about the top middle part of the engine being the infinitive. Everything else builds on to the present infinitive and the past preterite. But by far, what we speak most and hear most in the Spanish language is the present indicative, number 3. But let's go back to number 0, the infinitive, in gray. We use the infinitive all the time. And again, the infinitive is basically present in all verbs. That's where verb conjugations come from. They come from the mother verb, from the infinitive. The infinitive is the unconjugated form of the verb. It's the form of the verb in its pristine condition. You don't touch it, you leave it alone. And many times in Spanish, we use the infinitive. It's beautiful just as it is, okay? It's a work of art. It's a Picasso. It's a Rembrandt, right? It's the Mona Lisa, the infinitive. Now, number 1, it says present participle. In English, that would be the ing. Like llover, raining would be lloviendo. Working, trabajando. Talking, hablando. Eating, comiendo. Yes, there are some irregulars, but not that many. The present participle ing form, we use it a lot with a star, don't we? It is raining, está lloviendo. Está comes from number 3, the present indicative, and lloviendo is a 1, okay? Which is the present participle. You can only do 10 things to a verb. The second thing you can do to a verb is put it in the past participle, the brown planet on the bottom right. The past participle is the equivalent of the English ed, worked, studied, purchased. But there are irregulars like done, seen, bought, run, thought. But an example in English would be, I have finished, he terminado. We have eaten, hemos comido. She has called, ella ha llamado. 0 is the infinitive. 1 is the present participle, the ing, ando, yendo. We already know how to do that with verbs. Number 2, the past participle. We have done past participles, putting verbs into the ado, ido form. Let's go to number 3. There it is, right there. Home, sweet home, the present indicative. Again, why do they call it present indicative? Because it indicates what's going on in the present tense. That's number 3. Let's go to number 4. Number 4, kind of top right middle, it says past preterite. Now you might notice sometimes I spell preterite with an E, sometimes I don't. It's the same thing. In textbooks, sometimes it's spelled with an E, sometimes without. Not a big issue. The past preterite is that past tense that we studied, like I went to the beach, fui a la playa, we won the game, ganamos el partido, your dad called you, tu papá te llamó, it rained last night, llovió anoche, we did well, hicimos bien. The past preterite is talking about things that we did this morning, last night, last week, things that we did over vacation. I'm talking about one time. We went to the Louvre. We saw the Eiffel Tower. We climbed a pyramid. The preterite is to use to describe a completed past action that is over, it happened, it's done. Okay, that is the past preterite. And we just finished up car-gar-zar verbs. So we've done 0, we've done 1, we've done 2, we've sure done 3, and we've done 4. Now, 5, the past imperfect, that is coming up real soon. The past imperfect is the second of the 2 past tenses, and we will be studying that. Basically, you use the past imperfect to describe an incomplete past action in the past, or reminisce in the past, and talk about how somebody was, or what your days were like when you were a kid, what you used to do, what you would do all the time. That's the past imperfect, number 5. That's upcoming. Number 6 is the future. In English, when you say will, in Spanish, that also is the future. And how do you form the future? Look at that arrow coming directly from the infinitive. For all verbs, AR, ER, and IR, you take the infinitive, and there's one set of endings. A, as, a, hemos, an. But we'll get to that. We're not teaching future tense now. We're just telling you that is based on the infinitive. And then the conditional, in English, when you say what you would do now, not what you would do in the past. What you would do all the time in the past is the number 5, the past imperfect. What you would do today, or what you would do tonight, or what you would do tomorrow, that's the number 7. That's the conditional. Like, I would go, iría. I would go if I could. Iría si pudiera. We're going to find out. I'm getting excited again. We're going to find out that iría is a 7 and pudiera is a 9 right above it, the past subjunctive, which comes from for, the past preterite. So I would go, iría si pudiera. Pudiera. Where in the heck does pudiera come from? Well, it comes from the past preterite. But that's the beauty of it. And these numbers are going to help facilitate our comprehension. It's going to help settle all this information in the proper compartment in the language learning module. 0 is the infinitive. 1 is the present participle, ing. 2 is the ed form, the ado, ido. 3 we know is our buddy, the present tense, home sweet home. 4 is the past preterite. 5 is the past imperfect, to talk about things reminiscing about the past, things that you would do in the past all the time. If you want to talk about things you would do later today or tomorrow or in the future, that would be number 7, conditional. Okay, number 6 is the future, things that you will do. We have not studied 6 and 7 yet, but they're the 2 easiest verb tenses in the Spanish language. You learn them basically at the same time. Let's go to number 8. Okay, now we're going back to home sweet home. We're going back to the present indicative, our big boy right there. Look at 8 in blue. It says the present subjunctive. And the 8, the present subjunctive, to get to the present subjunctive, it's formed from the yo form of the present tense. So all those go verbs, the ZC verbs, the stem change, all these crazy things that happen in the present indicative, they're going to have an effect one way or another. And we will see that. We will see that soon. But let's go further to the left above number 3, present indicative. Look where it says 8, commands. What is a command? A command we use all the time. That's a big circle. That's a big planet, right? A command is when you tell somebody to do something. Come here, sit down, listen up, look at this, help me. Go get mom. All those are commands. Turn your books to page 25. Listen up. Do this, do that. How do you form commands? Commands that you give to a formal person, right? Like an usted or an ustedes person, someone with whom you're on a last name basis. It comes from the yo form of the present indicative. How do you give a command negative to a friend? Like don't go, no vayas, no digas nada, no salgas, no sirvas la comida hasta después. How do you give a negative command to a friend, somebody with whom you're on a first name basis? It comes from the present tense. Look at the one in the middle. It says number 3, commands. The familiar positive to command. How do you do a command to a friend? Hey, you take the LA form of the present tense, and there's your command. There are a few irregulars. Just like with a formal, there are a few irregulars, but there are not many irregulars, very, very few. So the point I'm making, above the number 3 present indicative, the present tense, you see an 8 yellow circle, a 3 yellow circle, and an 8 blue circle. The present subjunctive, that's that and number 9. 8 and 9 are numbered 8 and 9 because they're the highest level of communication that you can reach in the Spanish language. And to quote me, you ain't getting there. You're not going to get there unless you know that present tense and unless you know that past predicate. You'll never get to the 8 and you'll never get to the 9 without knowing the 3 and the 4. Yeah, you can sit around and incubate for 5 years and start picking it up, but with our tips, tricks, and tools in my teaching methods, right, you're going to learn how to create and build your own communication. Not just sentences, but we're going to start branching out. You're going to be able to communicate in paragraphs, in dialogues, in communications, in narration, in description. Believe me, it is all going to happen. Now, let's look at 9, the past subjunctive. We gave an example before. We took a 7 and a 9 and we put it together. I would go if I could. Iría si pudiera. It's a piece of cake. Iría si pudiera. Not only is it going to be a piece of cake through explanation, through our Verb Universe system and my tips, tricks, and tools, but the language learning module is going to hear you say, iría si pudiera. Oh, so your language learning module says, okay, I would buy it if I could. Well, if iría is I would go, si pudiera if I could, then lo compraría si pudiera. I would buy it if I could. Hacer, I would do it if I could. Lo haría si pudiera. I would help if I could. Ayudaría si pudiera. Don't you see? I'm helping you. Most of all, you're helping yourselves. The Verb Universe is right here for you. You can only do 10 things to a verb, 0 through 9. Quick review. 0 is the infinitive. I'm going to go. Voy a ir. We are going to study. Vamos a estudiar. She is going to come. Va a venir. Venir, estudiar. Comer, trabajar. That's your infinitive. Number 1, the present participle, the ing, the ando, yendo, lloviendo, raining, hablando, talking, trabajando, working, corriendo, running, viendo, watching, haciendo, making. Let's go to number 2, the hado, ido, right? The past participle, worked, ed, trabajado, purchased, ed, comprado, irregulars, done, hecho, seen, visto, said, dicho. He has told the truth. Él ha dicho la verdad. Those are the past participles. Number 3, the present indicative. no more be said. The past preterite, we've hit it hard, and we're going to come back and keep hitting it. It's like a punching bag, and that punching bag isn't going anywhere because we're going to keep hitting the present, hitting the past, all these numbers from 0 to 9. We're going to keep banging away on them all the way through all our lessons, so we learn them better and better and better from lesson to lesson. Let's look at 5. The past imperfect, that is upcoming. For example, jugar, to play. I used to play baseball with my friends in the street when I was a kid. Jugaba béisbol en la calle con mis amigos cuando era niño. I used to drink milk when I was a kid. Tomaba leche cuando era niño. I listened to music a lot when I was in high school. Escuchaba música mucho cuando estaba en high school. Okay, let's go to number 6, the future. We will help. Ayudaremos. It will rain. Lloverá. Let's go to the conditional. I would go. Iría. I would help. Ayudaría. The present subjunctive by itself. Diga, salga, ponga, traiga, caiga, hable, trabaje, coma, lea, sea. It doesn't do anything by itself. You need to have what we call a car and a hitch in front of it, and the subjunctive is what we call the trailer. But you're going to find out that the present subjunctive also functions as a dual function with commands for usted and ustedes, positive and negative. Giving a command negatively to a friend like don't touch it, no lo toques, don't do it, no lo hagas, don't yell at me, no me grites. So we've got 8 would be our present subjunctive, and number 9 would be our past subjunctive. Again, our example was iría si pudiera. Here's another one. I'm going to take a 59. Let the numbers help you, just like it helped the navigators coming across the open sea back in the day. Okay? I was hoping that we would win. Well, that's going to be a 5. We have not studied that yet. If I say I was hoping, we know we're in the past because I was, but guess what? It's an incomplete past action because it's not over yet. So I would say estaba esperando or esperaba que ganáramos. I was hoping we would win. I was hoping it would rain. Esperaba que lloviera. I was hoping that they would come to the party. Esperaba que vinieran a la fiesta. Those are just a few examples. Most complex communications you can create in the Spanish language, and that's where people fall down. Most people that learn Spanish, they can say, hola, ¿cómo estás? Me llamo Juan, but they're not able to say something like, I told her to leave the money on the table, but I guess she forgot. Le dije que dejara el dinero sobre la mesa, pero creo que se le olvidó. Well, you need to know subjunctive to do that. And to get into the subjunctives, if you want to get into 8 and 9, if you want to stretch and go to the outer limits of the Spanish language, we got to hammer the 3 and hammer the number 4. Okay, sorry, I get ahead of myself a little bit. I get excited. I may mispronounce a word here or there, or maybe change an example halfway through it. But you understand what I'm saying? The Spanish Verb Universe, we'll come back to it. I just wanted to show you, again, there are only 10 things you can do to a verb. That is it. And every verb that you will ever hear in the Spanish language will fall into one of these planets. It'll be from 0 to 9, period. No exceptions ever. Okay, that's it. That's a quick introduction of the Spanish Verb Universe. Gracias. Hasta pronto. We're moving on, ladies and gentlemen, and we'll be talking to you soon. We'll see you soon on the video podcast as well. Gracias por todo. Colorín colorado. Este cuento se ha acabado. Ciao.